For this week's show, I'm doing a request from one of my viewers, Kara. She saw this beautiful centerpiece and asked if I could recreate it. It looks like a couple of Shabby Chic nested wooden lanterns. Well, Kara, I think this is really lovely, and of course, I'm always up for a challenge. Well, today I'm going to show you how I recreated my own version of this, and we'll be using it as my Thanksgiving centerpiece this year. To make my 3-lantern centerpiece, I'm using 4 11x14 picture frames, 8 5x7 picture frames, beaded necklaces, wood craft cubes, the back of 2 wooden frames, 1 round wood hanging plaque, acrylic paint, 3 small Christmas bulbs, 1 small tin silver platter, 2 small round mirrors, battery-operated flickering tea candles, and 3 small glass canisters. You can find all of these pieces at Dollar Tree. To put everything together, I'm using E6000 glue and a hot glue gun with Gorilla Glue sticks. Okay, so I wasn't able to find anything to make that beautiful shape in the inspiration piece that Kara liked, but I think I can put this together using these rectangular frames. I'll start by making the largest piece, and I'm using the largest frame I could find at Dollar Tree. This is 11x14. I'll use the pliers to gently pry the metal braces out before I take the frame apart. And since these frames are pretty thin, I'm going to glue 2 pieces together for each side, face to face. I'll be using E6000 glue to glue these together. And this glue happens to be black, which I didn't know, but it works out pretty well because the frames are black. So I'm putting glue all the way around on the inside of the frame. And I'll line those frames up face to face and make sure that they're perfectly even. Then I'm going to set those aside to dry. Now my next 2 frames are going to be intersecting the first one. So I'm going to measure this frame and cut it in half long ways. The frame itself is 12 inches, so I'm going to mark it in the center at 6 inches. And I'm marking that at the top and the bottom. I'm doing the same for both 2 frames, and I'm going to cut this frame in half. This frame is pretty thin. It's not made out of wood. I think it's made out of some sort of foam material. So you could use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter and just slowly carve into it to cut it in half. Or you could use a hot knife, which will be quicker. Just make sure you have something to cut it on, like a piece of wood, and a well-ventilated room when you're doing this. Okay, so now that I cut my 3rd and 4th frame in half, I'm going to glue those pieces together. If you have to sand the edges to make sure it's even and flat. So now I'm going to put a mark in the center of my first full piece so that I know where to glue my jointed pieces. I'm going to use these boxes to prop this first frame up. I'm using E6000 in the center and hot glue on the edges. The hot glue will dry fast and help keep it in place while the wet glue is drying, and then it'll stand up well. I'm gluing this standing up to make sure it's level, and both pieces are sitting flat at the bottom. And next I'm gluing the other half of that frame on the other side at that center mark. After that's dry, to help hold the joints together better, I'm using these wood craft cubes. I'm putting some hot glue with Gorilla Glue sticks around the top edge, and I'm going to glue that right in the corner between the 2 joints. And I want to make sure it's touching the joints and also flat on the surface to make sure this piece is level. And I am putting these on the top and the bottom of each piece. For the top round cap that's in the inspiration piece, I'm using this round wooden plaque. And I'm turning this upside down to glue it to make sure it's centered over the cross. And after I visually center it, I'm going to use a pencil to draw around the pieces so that I know exactly where to glue it. To make smaller frames, I did the same steps with two 5x7 frames, but for the round piece at the top on this one, I'm going to use the back of this wooden frame. It's not as thick as the piece for the large lantern, but I think it'll be perfect for the two smaller lanterns. Okay, now I want to make the round balls to go at the top of each of these. But first I'm going to find a center point on this circle by drawing a cross so that I know where to place my ball. So for my top decorative ball, I'm using a small Christmas bulb. I'm going to take the top off and I'm going to cut this protruding part off. And I want this piece to sit flat on one side, so I'm going to stick my hot glue gun into the center of the ball where the hole is. I'm going to twist it back and forth, and as it goes in, it's going to melt the piece and create a bigger hole as it goes in. And I'm going to push it all the way in to the bottom of the hot glue. And I'm going to hold it there for a few minutes so that it gets nice and hot. And the bulb is a little more pliable. Then I'm going to take that out and press it on the surface to make this piece flat at the bottom. I'm going to hold it there for a few minutes. And now the bottom of my decorative ball has a flat surface that I could glue onto the top of my piece. Now I'll add a dollop of glue, large enough to cover the bottom of my decorative ball. And I'm going to place that right on the top in the center. And of course I'm doing the same with the smaller two. Now the inspiration piece has these small beads on every side. So to simulate that, I'm going to use these Dollar Tree plastic beaded necklaces. So I'm going to cut the necklace open, and with the hot glue, I'm going to glue it down right between the two frames that I put together. And you want to make sure it is straight. I'm gluing these on all four edges all the way down to the bottom, but not below the piece. And I'm going to do a decorative beaded piece around the center circle since it's so plain. And I'll do the same with my smaller pieces. And now that I have the basic structure done for all of the pieces, and it looks pretty similar except for the curves to the inspiration piece, I am going to paint these pieces. I'm using black acrylic paint, and I'm going to paint the entire piece, the beads, the ball, everything, the wood pieces, all black. Now that's better. They look like one uniform wood carved piece. And now that they're all dry, I want to give them a nice shabby chic look with some white paint. I'm using acrylic paint to paint these, and I want it to be an antique white. So I'm using white plus a little bit of a caramel color. And you can use any brand of acrylic paint. Dollar Tree even has acrylic paint now. So I'm using a sponge brush to paint this because I want the white mainly on the relief areas. I want inside the cracks to be dark or black. And I'm just kind of quickly brushing this on all over, and before it's completely dry, I'm going to take my hands with the gloves on and sort of blot it and smudge it up so that I could pick up some paint with my hands, and it gives it a rough kind of worn look. And I'm going to do this in layers. I'm going to add a little more paint and rub it and blot it with my hands until I get this really nice old antique shabby chic look. And then finally I'm going to go back and brush on white around the higher relief areas just to kind of give it a little more contrast. And as a coating or glaze on top, I'm adding a little bit of my metallic pearl white just to give it a little bit of a shimmer. Now I have all 3 pieces painted with that old rustic look. Now since I have some silver pieces on my table, I'm going to use silver pieces for the bottom of these. For the large centerpiece, I'm using this oval silver tray. I'm putting hot glue on the cross pieces, the highest relief areas. And I'm going to make sure that tray is centered inside. And I'm going to press that down right in the center. For this 2 small lanterns, I'm using small round mirrors. And now I think these pieces are done. If you'd like, you can nest one inside the other. The inspiration piece has a candle inside, but with these pieces you can't use a real candle because it'll burn up because of the material. So what I would do is use a tea candle that is battery operated. And I picked up these glass jars because it has this pattern on it that sort of camouflages the candle. So if I put the tea candle in it and turn off the light, it flickers and it really looks like there's a real candle lit in here. And look at that, just lovely. Okay, so the inspiration piece has some foliage around the candle, and these pieces I had already. I think I got these from Walmart. But I'm just going to clip the stems and place them around the bottom inside the tray. So Kara, here's your nested lantern centerpiece. And you can make these 2 for about $16 as opposed to $150. But I decided to use the 3 pieces separated and created a beautiful tablescape. And I just love it. So thank you for the idea. This is going to be so beautiful for my Thanksgiving table this year. Hey guys, I just added new items to my Etsy store with free shipping. And if you need more detailed instructions on some of these projects, for just a few dollars, you can get instant digital downloads of full color step-by-step instructions with templates for some of your favorite projects. And check out my Amazon page where you can pick up my multi-surface acrylic metallic paint, back in stock with 8 beautiful shimmering colors. You can mix millions of colors and create endless home beauty for indoor and outdoor projects. And while you're there, pick up my Book of Elegant Home Crafts Volume 1 with all your favorite projects together in one big beautiful colored step-by-step instruction book. On my Amazon page, you'll see all my favorite crafting tools and supplies used on this show, and you can add them all to your cart for the one-click, fast and easy shopping and delivery convenience of Amazon. I'll be working every day to make crafting fun and easy for you. Follow me at Your House of Home and Your House of Home TV on all social media for extra home, food,